Okay? Now every time it says, every extra word over here, Rashi is going to expand. Every extra word over here, the apostle is going to expound. Rashi is going to expound what is coming to tell you. Because it should have just said, Adam ki yaakov kem korban Hashem. Yeah. Miboko mitzorim takrives korbanchem. First of all, it has a full word, min haboko, min hatzim, which is unusual. And this implies that not all, as Rashi said before, below kula, not all animals may one. Even though you are often animals, not all animals. Some real animals tame. Not.
Yeah, tame.
So now, as you said, so the first one says min habehema, below kula, not all animals. Lahoitzis harovea vesamirba, right? To exclude any animal that's been involved in a forbidden mating relationship with a human being.
Right.
Okay? Mina bakar. Now that's what we're up to. Yaakov, you want to read?
Well, see at
Ne'evad. Right, to exclude an animal that has been served as an idol.
Right.
Now it's interesting as follows. The Torah, something which we have a rule that something which is takroves avodah zarah or anything avodah zarah itself, yeah, that is automatically forbidden because it's been used as an idol. So idol, the Torah says, shaketz t'shaktzenu v'sa'id t'savenu kicherenu. So it tells you anything that's been used for avodah zarah is out of bounds, forbidden. You're not allowed to have any benefit whatsoever. So even not for using as a korban, even as a regular for a person to use for his own personal use. So what's the Torah need to tell you over here that an animal that's been served as an idol, right, it can't be used as a korban. It's forbidden even for personal use. So the Gemara says the Maisa as follows: that an animal which is a live animal cannot be made to be forbidden for personal use. Whereas if it's a dead animal or an object, that can be have a din of avodah zarah, right? Meaning that can have a status of an idol, and that if a person was used as an idol, the object becomes forbidden. But an animal, a live animal, right, cannot be made forbidden for regular use if it was. Because what's going to happen? Every guy is going to think, this guy, I have a horse, let's say, and my next door neighbor goes and bows down to it. Okay? What do you mean? He's now ruined my horse. I can't use my horse anymore. No such thing. Okay? God, the truth is, okay, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but what I'm just a little bit oversimplifying the issue. But the Maisa, that's the thing. So therefore the halakha is here that even though this live animal which was served as an avodah zarah, it is not forbidden for regular use, the Torah is telling us over here it is forbidden to be used, to be brought as a sacrifice, as an offering. Yes.
Why does it specify ages? Because it mentions sometimes it's kids. Little, kids, like young kid, young. But for the normal offering, does that mean that there can be any age? Like the Kohen gives a bull offering.
Right, for instance, over here, we're giving an example. Right, we're talking about a voluntary burnt offering. Yeah. There's no age limit. There is a minimum age limit. The animal has to be
a week
old.
Why doesn't it mention here? Does it mention?
No, it doesn't.
Well, I was just so it's so specific and so.
No, it says, but there's no age limit. There are other.
Yeah, but Rosh Chodesh is a certain age, isn't it?
Right, Rosh Chodesh. Generally, public offerings also. Most notably, you have korban. What do you call it? Korban Tomid.
Yeah.
Actually, there the Torah says keves. So it doesn't actually specify an age. But here, sometimes there are different terminologies. There's keves, there's ben bokar, right? The truth is, a keves, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Keves refers to a animal in its first year. Right? First animal in its first year. Ben bokar refers to an animal in its second year. There are different terminologies which the Torah uses, and the Gemara learns out that they're referring to different ages. But here it doesn't give any age limit whatsoever.
So that's naughty then. Because it's very explicit. So we're learning about how you do things.
But that's part of the halacha, is that you can bring there is no age limit. Why should it be? There are other limits. There are other limitations. But this, as far as age is concerned, there is no limit.
It's not a question of getting the fittest and the choicest. That would mean that would be is this fittest and choicest at a certain age. So if you talk about anything, it wouldn't give an old bull, would it?
Sorry?
It might not offer a whole bull for the community. The Kohen Gadol would offer a bull.
There's different things. Different things. Here we're talking about voluntary offerings, and there's no. It can be any from the smallest lamb to the largest bull. Doesn't make a difference. Okay. Now that's the thing that's never. Minhad soin. Right. Next thing Rashi. The hoitzi es hamuktzeh. Okay. Now a muktzeh, an animal which has been designated as an idol itself. Okay? But since it's only been designated as an idol and actually not had been served, whatever, that's why it's a difference from the previous case. Okay? Umin hatzoin. Going next Rashi. Umin hatzoin. Now there's extra vav there. It says min habakar umin hatzoin. There's another extra letter there. This excludes an animal that gored, right, and thereby killed somebody. So what's the rule with that?
Kill an ox.
Yeah, an ox that killed.
Got to kill him.
Right. We learn in Parshas Mishpatim, an ox that gored somebody, human being, and killed that person, a child even. Then the thing is soker yisoker hashor.
Yeah, but if it goes another ox and the ox dies, then you just...
Okay, so that is we're not talking about whether, we're talking about it killed a human being.
Right. Oh yeah, yes.
So now technically...
with Kavana?
The animal did it.
Right, but doesn't the animal have to, I mean, if the ox gores accident, I guess it can gore accident.
Right, there's no such a thing. But what we're talking about over here is that... yeah, so technically this animal is, if it's Bezdin has decreed upon it that it's going to be killed, then the animal itself is also bahana even for chulin use, even for regular use, not just as a korban. So the chayra, what does the Gemara have to add this? So again the Gemara says that we're talking about with this animal gored and killed, but there were no witnesses. So there's no proof of being able to put the animal to death, because there's no testimony to be able to put the animal to death. However, the balabayis, the owner who knows that this animal has done this, has killed somebody, he is not allowed to bring this animal as a korban. So that's what it's excluding over here. So here Rashi is adding another point over here, that an animal is a treifa. What does that mean? We're used to calling something any forbidden meat, right? Treifa. Right? A treifa restaurant. What do you mean a treifa restaurant? It means it's selling non-kosher meat. But the actual word treifa means torn. Okay? And this refers to, in general in halacha, means an animal which has some defect, whether through sickness or through damage, wounding, right? That defect which the animal has will not allow the animal to live more than 12 months. The animal has been so defected by this wound or this disease, that the animal's not going to be able to live. And that's called, if the animal's for sure not going to live, it's called a treifa.
So
Okay?
a blemish.
Sorry? What do you want to say?
So a slight blemish doesn't disqualify.
No. There's another thing. We're going to see that in the next passage. It's Zochar Tommy. It's got to be covered without a blemish. But here we're talking about things, even though there's no outside blemish. So when it says got a blemish, something outside means the appearance of the animal looks defective. Here we're referring to something even where the appearance is not defective, but something that's one of the internal organs is diseased or something like that. How are we going to know about that?
No.
You're not necessarily. Only after you shaft the animal you discover, whoops. By the way, most animals, most commonly, an animal when it's after shechita, every animal after shechita has to have its lungs checked. What they do is they do it in two ways of checking it. Initially, after the animal's been shechted, so they open up the animal from they slit the belly of the animal from below. They turn the animal upside down. Right, and the boydek, whatever, sticks his hand in to the belly of the animal, around the lungs, and he feels, are there any lesions?
What's that mean? Lumps?
Lesions between the wall, between the lungs and the wall, the rib cage.
What's that mean? What's
a lesion? It is a piece of skin.
Oh, not lumps.
Like a tumor. You're looking at a tumor.
Right, but it's like a thing which will cause the fat. The reason why these lesions generally are an indication that there's been some puncturing of the lung itself and it healed up afterwards. Or attempted.
Well, you're looking at scar tissue.
Scar tissue, exactly. Okay? Now, so when we say glat kosher meat, you know what glat kosher meat means?
Right, but there's no...
Glat means, the word glat is a Yiddish term for smooth.
Yes,
which means that when after it was shafted, it was checked out, and the boy put his hand in, he found the lungs to be 100% smooth. That's what it means, glat kosher. So there's no such thing as glat kosher fish. Or chicken. Oh no, chickens actually can be, because you also have to check the lungs as well. But anything. But there's no such thing as black kosher fish or black kosher chow mein or black kosher chocolate. Okay?
Because
the term glat refers to specifically the lungs have been checked as being smooth.
Because it's big enough to check.
Okay. And the term has been...
Fish don't have lungs.
Right. What do they have? Gills.
Gills.
Well, you know that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I know that. I guess it is.
HaKodesh, so the thing is, what they do is, if they do find a lesion, so it's interesting, there's a difference between Sfardim and Ashkenazim. Sfardim, according to the Bet Yosef, with the compiler, Yosef Karo, compiler Shulchan Aruch, his opinion is that anything animal that has a lesion between the lung and the rib cage, even if necessarily there was a puncture, if there was a hole there previously, it's an indication there was a hole there previously, even though afterwards it's healed up, makes the animal trefa. So you can't eat it. So therefore,
it's more...
That's why sometimes you have, in reference to meats, it's called Glat Bet Yosef. Right, that's what we find. Which means, this is really the same thing. It means, it follows the Beis Yosef's opinion that the lungs were 100% smooth, because otherwise it was not smooth, it wouldn't be kosher. However, the Ramah, and that's how Ashkenazim follow the opinion of the Ramah, that even if it has a lesion, it may not necessarily be treif, may not necessarily be disqualified. No. So what one has to do is, what they do is, they take out the lung afterwards. If they find an animal which has lesions between the lungs and the rib cage, they take out the lung, and they take an airline and they blow up the lung. And it's interesting. Nowadays they have like airline, whatever, electric thing. In the old days, you used to get normally kosher guys to do it, because otherwise who has the thing? They used to have to blow up the lung.
The Armstrong.
Straw.
The Armstrong.
You have to be pretty strong.
Pipe or something.
Yeah, so here in this country, used to have the Arabs do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I can't find them acid, so when they blow up the lungs, and then they immerse it in lukewarm water. Because if it's cold, it can cause the meat to contract, and therefore not really show whether there was a hole there or not. And if it's warm, too hot, then it will cause the meat to expand, and it may produce a hole which wasn't necessarily been there before. So don't get lukewarm water, and they immerse in this lukewarm, and you see, if the air goes, you see bubbles coming up.
Just like a tire.
Right? If you see bubbles coming up,
My body is
there, if the bubbles come up, it means there's a hole there.
Oh, there's a hole.
Gone, finished. That means
Can't
there
cut
was a
the
tray.
feet.
If there's no bubbles come up, then it's okay.
Can't cut the piece out and.
No, because that shows that the animal, one of the simana of treifa, one of the things that the animal is diseased or defective, is that if it has a hole in the lung. If it has a hole in the lung.
So some people don't go by the Beit Yosef, they go by the Ramah or something.
Yes, I'm saying even according to the Ramah, if it actually has a hole there, right?
There's a hole there.
Then it's treifa. According to Beis Yosef, even if it doesn't have a hole, but there was a hole once upon a time, and now a lesion has grown there instead, it's also no good.
Oh, it's also no good. So the Beis Yosef is.
It's more stringent, yes.
So why do we not go over Beis? We should over Beis Yosef.
We should all eat Beis Yosef? Yeah, but there's other points. I'm talking about specifically in this aspect of lesions and things like that. Say
Nafshi.
Say that. So that's the case of the things. That's what we need. So we don't say such treifa. Now there are other defects which now make an animal treifa. For instance, if it has missing a limb, right, or an extra limb. An extra limb is also no good, because an extra limb says yes, a canottle dummy. So an animal has 5 legs, okay? So that 5th leg is an extra limb. You don't want it there, right? And if you take that extra limb and take it away, so the animal's missing a limb. So therefore, that's why I says it's possible. Okay, I mean I can give you the whole Masechus Chumash discusses all these points at the beginning of it. I can't say entertain you, but I can speak about it for okay. Right, so that means, so therefore an animal which is a treifa, okay, is no good to be brought as a korban. Okay, now, carry on, this is the last couple of things over here. Takrivu, you shall, now let's use this, now Rashi's bothered by the following thing. What's bothering Rashi? I'll tell you about it. Right? Adam, right, is in singular. Adam, a person, ki yakriv miken, a man among you, ki yakriv, he uses a singular, right? Ki yakriv, he offers. Then it says, takrivu, you, plural. Takrivu es kol malchem, you, plural, shall offer your sacrifice, your offering. So why is it change? It's change of number, right? It starts off in the singular, now it converts to the plural. So Rashi says, Melamed,
teacher.
You have it? Takrivu Melamed sheshnayim misnadvim oila b'shutfus. 2 people can voluntarily offer burnt offering in b'shutfus. They do it in
2 or more.
No, 1 person can offer his own, but even 2 people can offer together in partnership. Okay?
You know when you have, they have the sin offering and the oil offering. They go on the same, altar.
Yes.
So
all animals' offerings are offered on the altar, which is called Korban Oila. Mizbeach Oila, which means all the Mizbeach, which was outside the actual Mishkan of the Beis Hamikdash, was in the courtyard, and that's where all animals were offered, or parts of the animals.
Right.
Well, the only thing that was offered on the inside the golden altar was the Torah, the incense every day, and in certain korbanos had the actual blood sprinkled on that burnt offering, most notably on Yom Kippur, the korbanos of Yom Kippur. But the actual offering parts of an animal, the fats or the parts of the animal itself, was only on the outside only on the outside altar, not on the inside altar.
And each individual offering was treated as was it a ceremony? Just a quick, I didn't say a few blessings.
No blessing whatsoever. First of all,
I'm going to take a sin offering, so I go to the.
First of all, the sin offering. You have to realise this is not just a charade, a whole ceremony.
Right.
Charade.
Charade.
Oh, not going back to that
again.
Oh, no. Charade in English. We invented that.
Continue with the charade.
Okay.
Charade.
Anyway, ceremony. We're going to use the word ceremony.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, it wasn't thinking. The idea behind why does a person bring a sacrifice? Isn't it sound pagan?
To feel as though he's been.
Doesn't it sound pagan? What would him? Right.
It does.
So,
That's always bothered me.
okay. So the Rambam, the difference of opinion, but the Rambam explains the whole idea is, and this was Mashmat in the Gemara, is that a person should feel that this animal is in place of himself, as if somebody has sinned, even though albeit unintentionally. Right? He has the obligation, somebody certain Averis, serious Averis, if he did it unintentionally, for instance, somebody was desecrated Shabbos unintentionally, obviously a desecration of a Torah prohibition of Shabbos. Let's say somebody inadvertently wrote something on Shabbos, and he didn't realize it was Shabbos. He forgot it was Shabbos, and he wrote something. Okay? So then, when the Beis HaMikdash is there, you have to bring a sin offering. Okay? Now that sin offering, when he brought that sin offering, before the animal was shechted, he had to press his hand on it, and he had to do vidui. He had to do a confession. Chototzi ovisi poshati. Adan averet HaKodesh Baruch Hu, albeit he did it inadvertently, he didn't do it intentionally, but I've sinned to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, and therefore I have regret that I did it, and I'm not going to do it again. As before, Chazal said there's 4 parts to doing tshuva. There's regret of what he's done, acceptance for the future, making sure that he's not going to, taking measures to make sure he's not going to do the Aveira again, and actually confessing the fact that he's done the Aveira. So the confession, every time a person brought the Korban Chatos, he had to make a confession. It wasn't just like, okay, fine, I've done Aveira, no, bring an animal and everything's fine. He had to confess, a serious confession. So that's what the Korban Chatos. However, when it comes to the Korban Oila, this is a person voluntarily. But what Chazal says, it's very interesting. On one hand, it's called a voluntary Korban. However, Chazal say that the Korban Oila acts as an atonement for 2 types of Averis. One is if a person didn't fulfill a mitzvah saseh, which he should have. Let's say one more day, guy supposed to put on tefillin every day, and one day, whatever the reason was, he didn't put on tefillin. So Lamaise, he's blown it. He missed out on the mitzvah of tefillin. And technically, he's not obliged to do anything. He's missed out on it. He's missed out on his mitzvah of tefillin. However, he can get a kapara somewhat for what he's done, is if he brings a voluntary burnt offering. That's machaper for anaseh. What else is it also machaper for? Hirhure aveira. What happens is, a guy walking down the street, and he goes past the McDonald's, he whiffs a cheeseburger. I wish I would have now a cheeseburger. Wow, halavai could have one now. I wish I really get my bite into it. Here, Hure Aveira! He's mahar that he wants to do an Aveira. Rather, for that, it's possible cholib, you wouldn't be chayav about this. But an oila. But the truth is, for any Aveira, it doesn't make a difference. But he had havamina, he had entertained the thought to do an Aveira. Even though he put it afterwards, he says, chas v'shalom, I can do such a thing. But he did have entertained to do an Aveira. If he wants a kapara for those improper thoughts, he should bring a korban oila. Yes.
Well, there's a question, but you've got Pharaoh in my mind. If you make a sin many times, the same sin, you keep going back with the the offering, is there come a time in our religion where you've done, it's not the first time you've been here, the Koran said to you, aren't you learning from all this, these sacrifices, and you're saying, I'm not going to do this again, I'll never do it again.
Well, the first thing you have to realise...
No. So you're making an oath. And what, you know...
Well, the thing you have to realise, all this every time he's done the Avera, he only can bring a korban if he's done it unintentionally. If it's intentional...
No, unintentional. No, I forgot. I forgot. How many times can you forget? You sinned, and that's it.
That's true. He has got to go to. I would send him for religious counselling.
No, really. What's the point? Is there no preventative? I mean, you can keep coming every week and saying I've done the same thing, and I'll keep doing this and doing that. And saying,
because in the means you've got to bang a little bit harder. Meaning, I don't mean just physically.
Welcome to life.
Right. If you want to live, you have to come.
But if someone doesn't forgive somebody that keeps in the same sin, and saying I'm sorry, how many times will it say sorry?
You have to try.
Exactly.
You have to try. That's what it is. Try.
The truth is, and also one has to know, it's very important, one has to use the person. The Yetzer Hara is very clever. It's the Nochosh, right? It's the source of the Yetzer Hara. The Gemara, the Gemara calls the Yetzer Hara somebody who's not, the Yetzer Hara technically is not a fool, right? It tries to, and one has to know oneself, recognize oneself, and act with how should I say it? With wisdom and with
prudence.
Prudence, right.
Wow.
To know exactly how to battle against the Yetzer Hara.
I want to refine this question a little bit with an example.
Yeah.
Let's say you turn the light on Shabbos because you always turn the light on Shabbos. You forget, and it's just habitual. You flick the light without, and then you say, "Oh, okay, I turned the light on." So
what should you do? Put a light switch cover.
Well, that's my question. Are you? Let's say you've done this now 10 times. Are you obligated in any way to put a light switch cover? If you don't put a light switch cover, does it change it from Shogeg to Mezi?
Excellent question.
That's a
Excellent question.
No, it still remains Shogeg, but whether in Shemayim they're going to be lenient towards the fact that a person have done it once, right? Okay, that can happen, things can happen. Okay, you didn't realize it was Shabbos, you forgot it was Shabbos, and you flicked on the switch. Okay, when it happens the second time, the third time, you're going to look upon it and say, 1 second, you're not really, doesn't really concern you the fact that you did the Avera, right? Because you're doing it again, and you're doing it again, and you're doing it again. So in Shemayim, they're going to frown very deeply on the way this guy's behaving.
Another person has certain urges that are very strong.
Yeah.
To overcome.
Right.
Whereas one within.
So again, one should try and avoid these circumstances which will bring a person to such an age. Like avoid looking at certain things. Okay, if they're looking at certain things, certain pictures or something like that, cause it can sort of arouse a person, right? Then a person should make strong efforts to avoid looking at these pictures.
Not to be bored.
That's for sure. The Rambam says, "Ein machshava shel harayis shoyre el ami shel roshei panoi min hachokma." Person only has bad thoughts, right, if his mind is empty of wisdom. Because a person who is thinking about Torah and wisdom, his mind is occupied with positive things, right? That's the best thing. That's what the Torah says. Barosi Yetzer Hara, Barosi Torah Tavlin. How does the Torah act as an antidote to the Yetzer Hara? Because when mind is occupied with Torah, then it doesn't think about all the stupidities which the Yetzer Hara tries to draw a person into.
Keep yourself busy with doing chores or something.
That also, but the chores are not. The best thing is the Torah. Torah has the special quality, special ability to be able to act as an antidote to the Yetzer Hara. Okay. One more bit of Rashi here before we finish the thing. Korban Chem. What the Rashi, last Rashi in this passage. Melamed shehibo nidvas tzibur. Right, meaning a person not only can open a personal voluntary offering, but a person can offer a voluntary offering and give it over for the public.
Communal.
Meaning, so that's what he says. Melamed shibor midvas tzibur, he oilas kaitz hamizbeach habor min hamoisres. So, well, I'm not going to all the different things, but the point is, normally most voluntary offerings, each person will bring his own voluntary offering. But we learn out from this thing, it says korban chem, which generally refers to the public in the plural. The public's offering. That means a person, an individual, can offer to the Beis Hamikdash fund or whatever, to the Beis Hamikdash treasury, a korban that will be offered as a public korban. However, this is different from the regular korbanos too. A korban tomit, right? That's a regular daily offering, or all other obligatory public offerings cannot be accepted from personal donations. It has to be taken from what everybody gave, the machzis shekel, was given to the public fund, and that why is that? Because we don't have to say, one person say, I have more chelik in this korban than anybody else. When it comes to public offerings, everybody's equal. We're all communists then, socialists, right? When a person otherwise can give donations, then we can be capitalists. But when it comes to the public offerings, socialists, everybody's equal. Okay, we'll stop here.
Everybody continue to things and I appreciate it, but it can amount by